Chapter 19. Robinson builds a home for his goat. But the goat was a new care. Wild animals could come and kill and carry Robinson's goat away while he slept, and if the goat got frightened while he was hunting, it would run away. "I will have to make me a little yard in front of my cave," he said, "for my goat to live in." But from whence must come the tools? He had neither hatchet nor saw. Where, then, were the stakes to come from? He went in search of something. After hunting for a long time, he came upon a kind of thistle, about 2 feet higher than himself, having at its top a red torch-like blossom. There were a great many of them. "Good," thought Robinson. "If I could only dig up enough of them and plant them thick around the door of my cave, I would have just the thing. No one could get at me, nor at the goat either. Those thorns would keep anything from creeping through, peeping in, or getting over." So he took his mussel shell spade and went to work. It was pretty hard, but at length he succeeded in laying bare the roots of quite a number. But he could not drag them to his cave on account of the thorns sticking in him. He thought a long time. Finally he sought out 2 strong poles or branches which were turned up a little at one end and like a sled runner. To these he tied 12 cross pieces with bark. To the foremost he tied a strong rope made from cocoa fiber. He then had something that looked much like a sled on which to draw his thistle-like brush to his cave. But for one day he had enough. The transplanting of the thistles was hard work. His spade broke and he had to make a new one. In the afternoon he broke his spade again, and as he had made his third one he made up his mind that it was no use trying to dig with such a weak tool in the hard ground. It would only break again. "If I only had a pick." But he had none. He found a thick, hard, sharp stone. With it he picked up the hard earth, but had to bend almost double in using it. "At home," he thought, "they have handles to picks." The handle was put through a hole in the iron. He turned the matter over and over in his mind, how he might put a hole through his stone. But he found no means. He searched out a branch with a crotch at one end. He tied the stone to this with strong cocoa fiber and bark. How his eye glistened as he looked at the new tool! Now he began to work. He first loosened up the earth with his pick. Then he dug it out with his spade and planted in a high thistle. Many days he had to work, but finally one evening the hedge was ready. He had a row in a semicircle in front of his cave. He counted the marks on his calendar tree. The day on which he had begun to make his hedge he had especially marked out. He had worked 14 days. He had completed his hedge with the exception of a small hole that must serve for a door. But the door must not be seen from without. As Robinson thought, it came to him that there was still a place for 2 thistles on the outside. He could easily get in, but the entrance was difficult to find from the outside. Robinson looked on his hedge from without. It was not yet thick enough. For this reason he planted small thistles between the larger ones. With the digging them out and transplanting them, he was a whole week longer. Finally the hedge and the yard were ready. Now Robinson could rest without fear and sleep in his cave, and could have his goat near him all the time. It delighted him greatly. It ran after him continually like a dog. When he came back from an absence, it bleated for joy and ran to meet him as soon as he got inside the hedge. Robinson felt that he was not entirely alone. He now had a living being near him. Chapter 20. Robinson builds a home for his goat.